the start of a new year, which also means the start of New Year's resolutions. And if you're like me and everybody else, you're thinking about eating healthy. Well, I've got a great recipe for you. Acorn squash with sausage and kale. It's delicious, easy, and healthy. For the acorn squash, we first want to cut it in half because we're actually going to end up stuffing it. Now, some people are a little bit scared of these because they don't know how to get into them. The first thing you want to do is wash it because the skin is edible. So you definitely want to give it a little scrub and dry it off. Then we're going to put it onto its stem end because, believe it or not, that's the most stable. Then we're going to get right into the acorn squash, and I've already started a cut. We're just going to rock back and forth and get into our squash. And inside you'll see that there's a seed packet. So then I'm just going to scoop the seeds out, and these seeds are pretty easy to scoop out, but you don't want any of the stringy stuff on the inside of the squash. All right, now that I've got that cleaned out, I am going to cut a little sliver off the base of my acorn squash so that when we're serving it, it's going to be its own little bowl. It's going to stand still. So the next thing we want to do is just lightly coat or brush the edges and the inside of the acorn squash with a little bit of olive oil. You don't want to use too much because, again, we're working on healthy cooking. And then you're going to give it a little sprinkle with some salt and pepper. I've already sprayed my sheet tray that's lined with foil. I've sprayed it with some cooking spray. I want to put my acorn squash down on the pan because if we have it turned up, cut side up, the cut side will get a little too tough, and we don't want that. We want it nice and tender. The acorn squash is going to go into a 375-degree oven for about 30 minutes or until it's fork tender. Before we start browning our sausage, we want to get our onion, garlic, and our kale ready. So we're going to start with our onion. To add to your 1 medium diced onion and your 2 minced cloves of garlic, we're going to cut 4 cups of curly kale. So we're going to check on our acorn squash to see if it's fork tender, and you can pierce your acorn squash right through the skin. Yep, it's fork tender. Time to come out. Now I'm going to brown the Italian sausage just in a little bit of olive oil, but we want it to caramelize really nicely, which is going to add to the overall flavor. So once the sausage has browned in the pan, we're going to transfer it to a bowl, and I like to line the bowl with paper towel just to absorb the extra fat. I'm going to add a little bit more olive oil to the pan, and it'll heat up very quickly. And I'm going to add the onion and the garlic, saute it until the onions wilted a bit. Then I'm going to add the kale, stir it around a little bit just to combine the onions, the garlic, and the kale, and I'll add just a little bit of the chicken broth. The chicken broth is going to help deglaze the pan. I'm going to turn the heat on to low, sprinkle it with a little bit of kosher salt and pepper, and let it wilt for just a few minutes. While our kale is wilting, we're going to chop our pecans, shave our Parmesan, and add it to our panko breadcrumbs to make a delicious topping for our acorn squash. The kale is beautifully wilted, and we're going to add our sausage to this mixture. Stir it around just a little bit. Then we are going to scoop this beautiful mixture into our gorgeous acorn squash. Then once it's stuffed, we're going to add a little bit of our topping to the top, and we'll put it in the broiler for about a minute, just until the top is nice and golden brown. I am so excited about how well this turned out. Look how beautiful it is. The nice golden brown, the deep orange of the acorn squash. I am sure that this recipe is going to help you jumpstart into a happy, healthy new year.